Hey, everybody.
What's up, y'all?
Thank you for downloading We Got This with Mark and Hal.
We have a lot of exciting stuff going on that we just wanted to touch on real quick before we start the episode. This coming Thursday, if you live in Los Angeles, come up or down or from whichever direction you're coming to Sherman Oaks to Booty Works, because Hal and I are going to be discussing the all-time greatest exercise move. There's a lot of them. Is it going to be push-ups? Is it going to be jumping jacks? Is it going to be just standing up from a chair?
Oh, that's the workout. That's about my intensity of workout. But
so if we can do it, you can do it.
Yes.
That's about as intense as this workout's going to get. But there is going to be a mini workout after. We're going to, Sydney Benner, our guest who created the Flight Fitness program, is going to take us all through a super fun, quick workout afterwards. So come dressed to work out. It's totally free. And we have 4 great sponsors. We've got, food sponsors. We've got, booze sponsors, as mentioned before, that has gotten some conversation going. Our, kale infused vodka. Which is actually very good. Look, you don't drink.
This is true. I can't tell you either way.
You can't tell me whether
it might be great.
It's great. Yeah.
I believe you.
But it's going to be a great time. So please come on down to Booty Works in Sherman Oaks. We're going to start at 7, with some, hors d'oeuvres and cocktails in the front. And, don't get too drunk because you're going to do a little, that's how easy this mini workout is going to be, is you can do it after having a sip of vodka.
Yeah. Well, also, if you cannot be in Los Angeles on Thursday night, that's the 15th. You can get on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/We Got This Podcast. We're going to try to stream the recording of this episode. We're also going to try to audio record it.
Yes.
So that we can put it out at a later date. I'm assuming all that's going to work out and you will be able to see it. And we'll work out as well.
Yeah.
So that's the show. Also coming up the week after that, the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, that's the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Mark and I will be in Pensacola, Florida for Pensacon. There are still passes available as far as I know. Our producer Ken Plume will be there as well. We're going to do a live show with Steve Agee as our special guest.
That's right.
And it's really it's such a fun time, that con. We were there last year. Mike and Kat and Steve and their whole crew really put together a fantastic con in an area that is underserved in terms of what the fan community has access to. It's going to be a great time. You can go to pensacon.com for info.
This is how cool Pensacon is. The small airport that services Pensacon, airport, PNS,
yes.
For Pensacon. For sure. Pensacon. The town goes all in on this. Do you remember this last year? They had every gate was a different famous ship. So you're not going to like gate B3. You're going to the Millennium Falcon, or you're going to the Serenity, so it's really fun the way that they do this whole thing.
Yeah, it is awesome. Come check it out if you're anywhere in that area. All you Gulf Coaster people of the world.
That's right. This includes my father.
That's right.
Yeah.
Papa Gags is coming.
That's right. The good doctor is, no, he's not. He's going to be in Belize.
No! Of course he is. He's your dad.
He's going to be in Belize.
Papa Gags is going to be in Belize.
It's my brother's 40th birthday, so they're going to go to Belize. Oh. I am not. I'm going to be going to Pensacon.
Because you care.
I care, and I want to meet everybody that wants to come out.
And you're wanted in Belize.
Also, I'm wanted in Belize.
Please enjoy. We Got This with Mark and Hal.
Yo no quiero ir a Belize.
Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, Best Harrison Ford role.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
It's Indy or Han.
I know it's Indy or Han.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. We've already said this because you've listened to the pre-roll. You have to listen to the pre-roll.
Yes. You listen to the theme song. You know the topic is Best Harrison Ford role. This was suggested by Barry Wallace.
What's up, Barry Wallace? Thank you for the suggestion.
And yes, it comes down to Indy versus Han, but I thought it might be fun for the first half of this episode, or some of the first half. Some of it. Ugh. The guy has been in show business, in films, for over 50 years.
Good for him.
2 years.
Like, I want to have the lifestyle that Harrison Ford has, where everyone wants you to be in their movie, and if you want to do the movie, you get on your helicopter from your ranch in Montana, you fly to Hollywood and do the movie, and then you get back in your helicopter and go ride horses for the rest of the day.
that is the ideal life. Harrison Ford is one of those guys who has transcended the idea that he's an actor to he's just an icon.
Right.
He's an icon because of the character.
He's still a very
plays.
good actor.
Yeah, he is. I think what I was going to say is that perception of him, I think clouds people's judgment. It's hard to look at his performances from an acting perspective.
Right.
Because the man has transcended, the idea of Harrison Ford, he's transcended sort of any role he can be in at this point. And he still does a good job, but you look at it and you go, hey, look, Indiana Jones is in that Blade Runner sequel. And I know he's playing, Rick, was it Rick Deckard?
Yeah, but
for the second time, but you still see it as like, hey, Indiana Jones is Han Solo.
I don't think of Harrison Ford in that way as the icon. I think of those characters as icons. I think he is the actor that, I mean, to some extent, yes, in that he can get on a helicopter from Montana and fly to Hollywood. But because his lifestyle is it's not the lifestyle of an actor. It's the lifestyle of a movie icon.
Right.
But I don't necessarily see Indy or Han because he is so iconic in those roles. And I don't even think of them when I think of Indiana Jones and Han Solo, I actually think of them as two vastly different roles.
Yes.
So I don't like the Venn diagram crosses at Harrison Ford, but I don't feel like it's two circles that are terribly close together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I'm more, he's sort of like a De Niro, or Pacino's become a little bit more of a chameleon in his older age because they put him in a lot of makeup. But
now he only plays, he only plays characters that were real life people.
Right.
He's the Chadwick Boseman of old Italians. Next he's gonna play Old Panther.
I can't wait for that. Oh, I got this suit. Oh, this adamantium suit.
What's going on in Wakanda?
Avengers. I mean it like De Niro is, young Vito Corleone is obviously different than the character, than Jake LaMotta, who's different than the character he plays in Meet the Parents, whose name I cannot remember. But it's always Robert De Niro. He's Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
So you look at him in the movie and go, hey, that's Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And that can make it difficult to watch no matter how good a job they're doing. There's always a part of your brain that goes, that's Robert De Niro. That's Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He's responsible for two of the most iconic characters in pop culture in the last 100 years. He's played both of them.
Yes. I think he is 1/3 responsible for each of those characters.
Sure.
That is, director and production team is 1/3, the writer's 1/3, and the actor's 1/3.
That's fair. However, if Tom Selleck had taken the role of Indiana Jones,
have you seen the footage of that?
Yes.
It's wonderful.
If he had, and I'm sure he would have been wonderful. Do you think we would be sitting here talking about best Tom Selleck role and having
we'd be doing Magnum PI versus Indiana Jones
versus Dr. Richard from Friends.
Yeah, versus the blonde news anchor from In-N-Out, the Tom Hanks Oscar speech inspired Kevin Kline movie.
Oh, that's right. Also versus Captain Blue Bloods.
Yes. Versus, now I'm getting into the Kevin Kline overview. I know.
See?
I was going to say the Pirate King. No. I just got off a Kevin Kline tip.
I'm just saying, like, the idea that he played that character.
Right.
That is very important. And there are times where all three parts combine and they turn out something fantastic, but it's not on this level where it just catches fire. And obviously, if Raiders of the Lost Ark had been a bad film, we wouldn't be talking about it either.
And speaking of bad films,
okay,
let's talk about the Harrison Ford roles that are not going to make the list of 2.
When you said that, I had a movie that immediately came into my head.
Okay.
And it was 6 Days, 7 Nights. Was that what came into your head?
That's the Anne Heche. That's where he met Anne Heche, right?
Yes. In which, he plays Quinn Harris. He's a pilot. He's a bush pilot. Not a bush pilot. He's like an island hopper.
Oh, yeah. Where he plays a pilot who Harris is part of his name.
Yeah.
Sure. Big stretch there, Ford. Big stretch.
Is that the stretch in acting to be able to answer to a different name?
Yeah. That's why I don't trust any TV show where the lead character has the same name. Yeah, you're Jim Belushi. You're not Jim, whatever last name they made up for you on that show called According to Jim.
By those rules, is Seinfeld clear because he plays Jerry Seinfeld on that show?
Exactly.
That's okay.
Yep. And Larry David plays Larry David.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they had him play, if there was just Larry David being Larry David, but they called him Larry Davis, like that kind of stuff drives me crazy.
Jerry Steinfeld is here.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking of as a bad?
Like, what was Mary Tyler Moore's character's actual name on the show?
She was Mary Richards?
Right. But the show was called The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yes.
But they just changed. You know what? Let's not. This is
She didn't play a Mary on the Dick Van Dyke Show, though. Her character wasn't named Mary there.
No, she did not.
And neither did Dick Van Dyke.
No, he played
Rob.
Rob, which was Carl Reiner's son's name.
Yes.
Do you think Carl Reiner really wanted Dick Van Dyke to be his son?
Wouldn't you?
Right? Over Rob Reiner? I don't know. This is Spinal Tap is so good.
It is. Look, I'm not talking down Rob Reiner.
Right.
I'm saying, wouldn't it be cool if Dick Van Dyke was your son?
Sure.
Even now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he, I mean, he doesn't even hobble. He just moves slowly. He still dances and stuff. If
he's still Dick Van Dyke.
Hey, Dad.
And he's a doctor?
Uh-huh.
I saw Diagnosis Murder.
He's in medicine.
Let's talk about Harrison Ford.
He's an evil museum security guard.
Don't spoilers for those who haven't seen Night at the Museum.
Well, sorry you've just woken up from a very long sleep.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to just talk, instead of going through every one of his roles, first of all, do you know the first appearance he ever had in a film?
American Graffiti?
Incorrect.
Oh, no, I don't.
Dead Heat in a Merry-Go-Round. He plays the bellhop, and he says, "Paging Mr. Ellis." That is his line. He's in the full bellhop uniform. He's got the little rounded top, flat top hat.
Was the
"Paging Mr. Herman, Mr. Herman"?
Was that a in Pee-wee's Big Adventure? Was that an homage? I guess.
I think the idea of paging people, it wasn't an homage to Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round. It was more of an homage to the idea of paging people.
Now I want my license plate to say "Page me."
Isn't that what your candy hearts say that you sell? Because you got them, you bought them in 1992 to resell them.
Exactly. Yeah. Page me, fax me.
Beep for you.
Oh my God. And then I don't even know how they spelled this, but one of them was just.
Did you have a pager?
No, I never had a pager. My mom always said pagers are for doctors and drug dealers.
Yeah, I think you and I are both just old enough that having pagers wasn't a thing. Like now kids have cell phones, then
right.
Just businessmen and kids and ne'er-do-wells had pagers.
Yeah, I got a cell phone. Like by the time I was a teenager,
right.
Everybody was starting to get cell phones.
Yes.
But these were like, very quaint cell phones by modern standards.
Yes.
But yeah, so I didn't ever need a pager.
Yeah,
we did have 1-800-COLLECT.
Sure.
Do you remember 1-800-COLLECT?
Yes.
You would call from a payphone and then they would say, so that the person on the other end of the phone would know your name. It was like, please state your name after the beep. Beep. Mom, come pick me up. And then they wouldn't accept the charges. Yeah. You never did. This was like a very common thing. I remember hearing people talking about doing that.
I definitely know that trick.
Yeah.
I just hadn't thought about it in a long time because I would just make the collect call. I'd be like, I'm not paying for it. I'm collect calling my parents, but like from school.
Yeah.
I just go to the payphone and I have a collect call. I like to collect call and then give the number. Then who is it? Hal. And then you have to wait. Somebody's job was to then make a call on your behalf and connect the two of you.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to be at a switchboard operating. It's another thing like, all right, cheapo, I'll make the call for you too.
Yeah. You know what? Now we've moved beyond that and come full circle again. Now we have Movie Pass and it's, okay, cheapo, you go stand near a theater and I'll buy you a movie ticket.
I'll say it's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can buy your movie ticket.
Hey, Movie Pass mom, can I go see this? No. No, you can't. That movie has violence in it. You're going to see Coco again. Oh, I've seen Coco it's great, but I've seen it like 9 times. Go see Coco.
Your movie pass is really strict.
Yeah, I know. You can only see Coco with a movie pass.
I had 2 movie passes and they got divorced, so one of them lets me see whatever I want. It also wants me to call its girlfriend Cheryl Mom, which is a whole other thing. It's being worked out in therapy. We're getting far afield.
We are. Let's talk about Harrison Ford.
Yeah, let's talk about Harrison Ford. I just want to throw out some roles of his. First of all, you mentioned American Graffiti,
Right.
in which he plays Falfa, the cowboy drag racer.
Yeah. That's a cool character. That's him just driving around in a cowboy hat and wanting to race people.
And it's an important role in that it introduced him to George Lucas, who brought him in as a reader for the Star Wars auditions and later cast him as Han Solo.
There you go.
Obviously not going to make it to the final 3, but also a really good role. Let's see. Well, here's another one. This one I think is.
We're not going to go through all of them, right?
No.
This is just a few.
I'm just going to cherry pick a few. I think that his performance in this movie proved that he was capable of comedy more than any other movie that he's made since.
What's that?
The Frisco Kid. Have you ever seen The Frisco Kid?
I have not.
It is a Gene Wilder movie in which he plays a rabbi, I think from Poland, who comes to America to meet his bride, and he's going to become the rabbi of a congregation in San Francisco. He lands in New York, immediately loses everything, and Harrison Ford is a cowboy who winds up guiding him across the country.
Did Gene Wilder write this?
He did. He did write this. And it's a really fun movie, and it's a really fun role, and a little different than stuff he would do later.
This was in 79, so
this was in 79.
Post Star Wars, pre Indiana Jones.
Yes. And it's a really, really fun role. It's worth watching. Is there one that you want to throw out that you think is worth talking about?
There is, but not for the reason you would think.
Okay.
And that's regarding Henry.
Okay.
Regarding Henry, if I'm correct, was about a man who was involved in an accident and
he's shot in the head during a convenience store robbery.
Great, and has to come back from that.
He loses his memory. He has to relearn everything. He was a callous man beforehand. He didn't have a relationship with his daughter. He was cheating on his wife, and he is rebuilt as a new, more innocent person and has to figure out where he fits in everything and who he is.
Right. By all accounts, an excellent acting turn from Harrison Ford. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because the only thing I remember about that movie is about the same time that movie came out. I remember the poster for this was Annette Bening's, or it was Harrison Ford's face.
Right.
With Annette Bening's profile right next to his face.
Like Simon and Garfunkel.
Right. There was a movie that came out at roughly the same time. I see how you could get confused, but at my local video store, there was an extra room in the back that I wasn't allowed to go in as a kid.
Uh-oh.
And yet they would have posters out in front for the movies, the new releases that they were advertising in there.
Right.
And there was a movie that the poster was a gentleman's face, much like Harrison Ford. It looked the same. And then instead of Annette Bening's face right next to it, a bare butt. And the movie was called Regarding Heine. I tried to find the poster for it today. It does not exist online. I cannot find it.
I'm so sorry.
Well, you know.
I'm so sorry.
I just remember anytime I think of Regarding Henry, that image for some reason stuck in my head as a kid. Because even then I was like, that is a hilarious poster.
And the people who are expecting some adult entertainment, it's really just a butt painting Ritz cracker boxes. That's all it is. It's very similar. It's very faithful. It just happens to have a bare butt.
Yeah, there's just a butt that goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always right next to his face.
Yes. Let's talk very briefly about Dr. Richard Kimball.
Oh, yes.
Remake of The Fugitive.
Which was great.
And this movie was nominated. I always forget this. This movie, I think, was nominated for Best Picture.
Was it? It was a really great movie. Mostly because of Tommy Lee Jones in that movie. I mean, Harrison Ford is great.
Yes.
His Richard Kimball is brooding and, mumbly, but righteous and and tough and frazzled.
He's frantic, not the Dr. Richard Walker frantic that he made. That was the Roman Polanski movie in 1988.
Ooh, that's not gonna
No,
win.
we're not touching that one. But there's a frenzied performance to him because he's still, he never really gets the opportunity to grieve his wife. He's constantly on the run.
He's a troubled dude in this movie.
Yeah. And he plays it really, really well. Again, a great role, not an iconic role.
Right.
If we were
an iconic role, I think, for Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the movie that blew that guy up, or back into Up, right? That's the thing, back into Up with Tommy Lee Jones.
Have you seen Blade Runner?
No, I've not. I'm a terrible person.
I
saw the original. You know what? No, that's not true. I did see it, but I was like 13 when I saw it.
All right. I'm just going to throw my opinion out there.
Mm-hmm.
I did not enjoy this movie.
The original?
Yes. I think it looks beautiful. You cannot argue that it isn't shot beautifully and designed really well, but it wasn't for me. But I know that is another iconic film in which he's in.
Right.
I don't think people think Rick Deckard when they think about Harrison Ford. I don't think it's that. Maybe it's third. Right. I don't even think it's third though.
I think Richard Kimball is probably third.
I would think Richard Kimball or Jack Ryan, which he took over from Alec Baldwin.
How many movies did he do as Jack Ryan?
He was in 2. He was in Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger.
Right. Yeah, those movies, like, I feel like all espionage movies to me, they eventually blend together. You could tell me about a sequence and say, this was in The Hunt for Red October. This was in Patriot Games. This was in The Bourne Legacy. And I'd be like, sure, that's probably right.
I don't know.
But they're really fun in the moment. I love watching them.
Yeah. I don't know if I would agree with that. I would say Hunt for Red October is clearly the best of the Jack Ryan films.
Right.
And they're not all, it's not like all of them are terrible afterwards, but while Harrison Ford is very good, he's not the best Jack Ryan to me. I think I liked Alec Baldwin in that role a lot more. Let's see. Is there anything else here? What about Jack Trainer in Working Girl? He's just, he's there.
He's great. He's fine. That movie, you don't watch Working Girl you watch Working Girl for Sigourney Weaver and Melanie Griffith. 100%. You don't watch it for,
100%.
Harrison Ford.
Then in that, I very briefly want to give a shout out to the one time he did sort of chameleon himself, which was when he played Branch Rickey in 42.
Yeah.
That was a good performance. I liked it a lot. Still, it looked like
it's not his movie.
It's not.
It's the Jackie Robinson story.
100%.
We're not going to be talking about Harrison Ford winning the Jackie Robinson movie.
Here's a question though. If you're looking at an actor's roles.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Dame Judi Dench, Shakespeare in Love is not her movie, but could you ever leave out her Queen Elizabeth?
No, but her Queen Elizabeth was either won or was nominated for an Oscar for that.
She won.
Did she win for that?
I think she did win. She was only on screen for like 8 minutes. Man. And she was at least nominated if she did not win. In my memory, she won because it's such a good performance. But again, not her movie, but she made an impact. I don't think he makes the same impact in 42.
That's true.
So I think the last one that we should really talk about is President James Marshall, who has been mentioned.
Get off my plane!
100%.
Yeah.
That is,
we've talked about him on the show before when we did our Best Presidents episode.
We did. And it's a great role.
Yeah.
That might be number 3.
Because he's a man of principle in that.
Yes.
To a fault, really.
Yes.
Like with his principle being, I don't negotiate with terrorists. I don't negotiate with terrorists. But they've got a gun to your daughter's head. Sorry, honey, I don't negotiate with terrorists. Like, for an actor, what a clear through line to have.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to negotiate, so I have to get my plane back. And the reason I have to get my plane back is because I'm not going to negotiate.
But also the reason why I'm not going to negotiate is I'm not going to break the precedent that this country has. This is bigger than the people who are captive on this plane.
Right.
Which makes him
an embodiment. Not me, brother.
No.
Someone had my family, I'd be like, America is exactly going to negotiate with a terrorist. We're going to do it right now. Until my family is whole again.
Just start searching through. I think I got like $40.
Yeah, like it's like Monty Hall has just asked me to produce a matchbook for him.
I have a movie pass, but it only lets me see G or PG rated films.
No, I have seen Coco too many times.
Hey, you can use my dad and mom's card if you want. They'll let you see whatever you like, and you can.
Why you call mom by first name?
It's a whole thing. I'm in therapy for it. It's fine.
I have stepmom as well.
Oh, really?
Yes. Here is your daughter back.
Thank goodness. See, we just solved the movie.
Yeah, that would have been so much easier.
And both of the stepmoms should be named Martha. I just realized that would have really brought it home.
Because of Martha Washington, the first lady.
Yeah, or for Superman versus Batman, The Dawn of Justice, where everything's solved by their mothers.
Right.
The same name.
Yeah, you were making a reference that my brain did not immediately get.
It's okay. I brought it back.
That's right. That's the whole thing. That's why he doesn't kill him, is because their moms have the same name.
Yeah.
Batman had to be stopped from killing Superman.
Can I tell you something that I'm not proud of?
What?
I know I'm going to get Justice League when it comes out next week for Apple TV, and I've seen it, and it's not good. And yet, like, I'm the person who's responsible for archiving terrible pop culture on my Apple TV.
Yeah, why do you have to do it?
Because it's there.
I don't even remember if I saw that one.
Well,
that was this year. That was this summer. It
was in November.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't see it because I missed, for some reason I missed all the good superhero movies that month. I missed Thor. I didn't see Thor yet.
That comes out in 2 weeks.
I know. I was checking on it the other day to see when it would come out because I actually went online. I went to the MCU page and I was like, all right, what movies have I not seen in a while? Which ones am I missing? And I was like, oh my God, totally forgot that I missed Ragnarok.
Yeah. I actually, because we're doing a live show on Thursday, initially I was like, I can't do Thursday. The reason being I had tickets to see Black Panther. Then I got another set of tickets to see Black Panther the next night.
Is that why you said that you couldn't do the show on that night?
Yes. Is that not good enough?
No, it's not good enough.
I'm doing the show.
Yes, you are doing the show.
I moved it. I'm very good at prioritizing.
Ugh. You prioritize like a 13-year-old. Oh crap,
it's my wife's birthday.
All right, so let's talk about Han Solo versus Indiana Jones.
I'll tell you what, let's take a break first. Okay. And just like Drummer in The Expendables 3, you will forget all about the thing I just said when you listen to these great ads for other shows on the Max Fun Network. We'll be right back.
Bye. See you in a minute.
Following the news is hard and it sucks.
How do you know which stories are important?
Which sources do you trust in this post-truth world of reactionary journalism?
I'm Brett Black.
And I'm Travis McElroy.
And we host a podcast called Trends Like These.
We cover trending news stories.
We debunk misleading clickbait headlines.
And we always try to throw in a little bit of good news.
In our quest for truth.
So join us every week on MaximumFun.org or wherever podcasts are found.
Hey guys, this is Adam Conover. You may know me from my True TV show, Adam Ruins Everything. Well, guess what? Now we're doing a podcast version right here on Maximum Fun. What we do is we take all the interesting, fascinating experts that we talk to for just a couple minutes on the show, and we sit with them for an entire podcast, really going deep and getting into the fascinating details of their work. Find Adam Ruins Everything wherever you get your podcasts or at MaximumFun.org.
Okay.
All right. Indy versus Han Solo.
How do we judge this? Do we have to look at the overall quality of the films in which those characters appear? They're not, well, first of all.
No, it's not, this isn't about the movies. This is about the characters.
Okay, good, because then Indiana Jones would lose, because Crystal Skull is a pile of dog crap.
I see, the thing is.
Are you going to defend that movie?
No, I'm not going to defend Crystal Skull as anything, but I'm not going to give it an F. I'm going to give it a C.
Really?
But the problem is the rest of the movies in that trilogy are 2 A's and an A minus.
Okay. Which one's the A minus for you?
Temple of Doom.
Okay. I just wanted to see if we're on the same page there.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to hate on it. It was entertaining. It's not great. It's not a great Indiana Jones. I don't consider it a classic Indiana Jones movie. Like if there are going to be 4 discs in my Indiana Jones box set, it's going to be the old one that's got 3 discs and then bonus features.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I didn't think it was the worst piece of garbage of all time. I think the opening with him in the fridge is ridiculous and hilarious.
I've only seen it once. And I was so let down. I think it might be the last movie I saw in a theater with my mother before she passed away.
Well, now.
No, it's either that or The Dark Knight, which I like very much.
Okay.
But that's not why.
Okay.
The reason why is that movie, every time every time I thought it was going to make a turn back in the right direction to feel like the other films I'd seen before in terms of him being lucky, he gets lucky a lot.
That's one of his big things is he reluctantly stumbles into both danger and luck.
Right. But in Crystal Skull, every time where I think it's going to go back into not the formula, but the feel of the Indiana Jones films I've seen before, it goes the other way. And for me, it going the other way is to the detriment of the film overall. It doesn't ruin the character, doesn't ruin my childhood, doesn't ruin my experience of seeing the other three films, but it was a disappointment on a very high level.
Let me throw this out there. Since you mentioned the movies themselves, I guess I take back what I said before. It is important to look at them in their context. And because similarly, they've both been in 4 movies as those characters. But looking at them in the context of those movies, not whether the movies are better or worse, but Indiana Jones is a more important character to the Indiana Jones world than Han Solo is to the Star Wars world.
Because he's not Luke Skywalker?
Because he's not Luke Skywalker. He's a sidekick. Or it's not his hero's quest. You know what I mean? It's not like, and he's always secondary as Han Solo. And then this is outside of the characters themselves. This is just within their stories. But Indiana Jones, the movies are called except for once they renamed Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
Now it's called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones. So it's like really setting up this hero, and his picture is the biggest one on all those vintage posters. Shout out to the amazing vintage posters that all of the Indiana Jones movies have.
Sure. But they're also, those are throwbacks to the
1940s,
serials.
the serials, yeah.
He's a serial character. So that the naming conventions even follow those rules.
But you can't argue that Han Solo is a more important character in those movies than Indiana Jones is in his movies, right?
I mean, I'd say he's a co-lead. In those films. His journey, he has the shortest journey.
Right.
And I think we've talked about this before.
I changed my mind, kid. I came back. Now go get him.
But Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, see? I mixed them up.
I know.
Indiana Jones, I can't think of a film. I mean, maybe Last Crusade, he's got the most defined arc.
Mm-hmm.
He's really not, he doesn't go through much of a character arc in Raiders. I don't think.
Right, because he's already pretty complicated.
And it's not what the movie's about.
Right.
The movie's not about him, making this great discovery about himself. It's a rollicking adventure where he's a college professor who also is a treasure hunter / preserver.
Right.
So, in that way, he's the lucky academic who has just enough skills and knowledge to make it out of any situation that he finds himself in.
Right.
Really, his brains are his greatest asset.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that for Han Solo, his bravery and his willingness to follow his gut is his greatest instinct, is his greatest strength as a character. Not that he's dumb, but he's not. You have no sense that he's a really learned guy. He's street smarts. He doesn't believe in the Force.
Right. But before we get into just to get back to the movies real quick to close that subject out, Harrison Ford himself wanted to kill off Han Solo in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Did not care to do any Han Solo appearances in the new movies, was coaxed into it.
Yeah.
Is still interested in Indiana Jones 5. And the reason he gave was that Han Solo's arc is boring.
Interesting. I wonder what he thinks Indy's arc is. Really, the biggest arc he has is Crusade, is rediscovering his relationship with his father.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
It is. I'm not arguing against it. And Han Solo doesn't have a huge arc. I would agree. It's maybe Indy's not about the arc. It's just about the story that you're telling.
Right.
And Han is,
Indy's a more let's get away from the movies then.
Right.
Now since it feels like that cross dissolve has happened.
Sure.
Or in the case of, the Indiana Jones movies, that shot of the Paramount Mountain has already turned into a shot of some other mountain that is going to blend down. I love that when they do that. That's one of my favorite conceits of those movies.
And in Star Wars, it's done that secondhand wipe.
Yeah,
for the screen.
exactly. Yeah.
It turns into another.
They do have both of those movie franchises have cool transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about them as people.
Okay.
Han shot first.
Okay. He did.
Of course he did. He's a scoundrel.
He is.
But you're right. I feel like Indiana Jones though has more virtues than Han has. His bravery, you're right that Han's bravery is a virtue. His going with his gut instinct, his instincts themselves are a virtue of his. He ultimately does the right thing, in coming back around. But you look at Indy, and Indy's job is to preserve history.
Sure.
Anytime he's going after something, it's never for profit. It's because it belongs in a museum.
There is the whole fortune and glory thing in Temple of Doom, but maybe that's what makes it an A-.
Right.
And in there, he winds up doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
He gets pulled into the Sankara stones, but he's also extremely loyal to all of his friends, to Brody.
Mm-hmm.
Even his friend, who's a name I do not remember from Temple of Doom, who gets killed in the beginning. That he's,
in the beginning of Temple of Doom.
Yeah, at Club Obi-Wan. His friend gets shot when they're trying to rip off the gangster.
Right. I don't remember that guy's name either.
He tries to rip off Lao Che. So he does have a little bit of,
yeah, but he's ripping off an artifact that Lao Che has stolen, right?
Right. He's going to return.
Yeah. He's never doing it.
Diamonds. He got the diamonds for Lao Che.
He's never doing things selfishly, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Unless he's drinking blood out of a skull. Then he drinks the blood out of the skull, then he becomes a real jerk.
Yeah. But all you have to do is burn him with fire.
Yeah, that's easy.
But Han is also super loyal. The story of Chewbacca, and I don't know how this is going to play out in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Chewbacca was enslaved by the Empire and Han freed him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Han's always been a guy who does the right thing. I think he wants you to think he's more of a scout. There's a whole theory out there that he's a virgin. That he's the guy who's like, I've had plenty of women. I'm very good at it. I'm very good at making love to a woman. And meanwhile, he's never, he's all.
Well, you go deep on some of these fan websites, don't you?
I do. Well, it's a really interesting theory.
It is fun, yeah.
It makes sense because he talks a big game. He talks about how he's into everything for himself. All he wants is the reward money, and he doesn't care about anything. And then he comes back at the end, not because anybody's asked him to,
right?
But because it's the right thing, and he has a really strong conscience. And in the second film, that's already sort of proved itself to be true. He saves Leia because it's the right thing to do and because he's in love with her.
I'm not saying he's a bad person.
No, but I
think
he wants us to think he's more of a scoundrel than he is.
Right. That's fair. He likes that bravado.
He's a self-preservationist, but he always talks a bigger game than he can provide.
Right.
And yet when the chips are down, he's the one who takes them into an asteroid field and outwits the Empire by hiding inside of an asteroid and then hiding on the radar dish so they can't pick him up. Like he's full of tricks. I mean, they do feel somewhat similar because they get into a lot of adventures. I guess the John Williams music
that helps.
Sort of pulls you into both.
That to me gives it the most adventure aspect. But I do feel like Indiana Jones it's always reluctantly. Every time it's just, oh great, now this has happened, so I have to do this. He reacts to everything.
Right. He doesn't go to Venice trying to find the Holy Grail. He's looking for his dad.
Right.
And he brings the Grail, journal with him, or the Grail diary, for no reason, and then winds up on a treasure hunt, like gets further than his dad did, which is obviously, I mean, that movie is it's
wonderful.
It's so good. And Sean Connery's like the perfect choice to play, his dad.
While we're on the subject of dads.
Sure.
Let's talk about fatherhood.
Okay.
And these two characters. Who's the better dad?
Ugh.
Indiana Jones or Han Solo?
Well, I mean, one of them fathered the new leader of the First Order and a very evil practitioner of the Force, a very powerful Sith. In Kylo Ren. I don't even know if they're Sith anymore now after Last Jedi.
They're all Kylos.
A bunch of Kylos.
There's Kylo Ren, Kylo Sidious.
Kylo McLaughlin-o. But
what's his name?
On the other hand, Indiana Jones
raised Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, didn't even raise him. Mutt.
Yeah.
Kid's name is Mutt. I don't dislike Shia LaBeouf.
Let's just go ahead and say that Harrison Ford does not play great dads.
Yeah. I would say he's a better dad in Indiana Jones because his son doesn't kill him.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. It's been 3 years.
All right. Let's talk about the hardware.
Okay.
Han Solo got the vest, got the boots, got the blaster.
Yes.
Indiana Jones got the hat, got the whip, got the gun.
Don't forget the Millennium Falcon.
All right. The Millennium Falcon is the hardware. Sure.
I mean, the whip is cool. Certainly the moment in Temple of Doom where he goes for his gun and it's not there. The callback to Raiders is brilliant. But the Millennium Falcon is the greatest piece of hardware either character could be involved with.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I was just thinking more on their person. Because that, like, if you strip away the tech elements of it.
Right.
Or if all technology were equal, Han has a gun and Indy has a gun, a whip, a gun and a whip.
He only has the gun really in Raiders.
Yeah, he never really uses the gun.
He loses it at the beginning of Temple of Doom. I don't even remember him. I mean, he uses other
Which is weird because Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders, chronologically.
I guess
So he gets the gun back somehow.
Oh, you know what? That actually makes it brilliant because the first time Swordsman showed up, he didn't have a gun, so he probably makes sure that he has it every time after.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we see him beyond that, he's like using tanks and other people's weapons. He uses the Luger and shoots through like 5 Nazis. It's like, whoa, this is a
nice gun.
This is a really good commercial for the Luger. I mean, you got to take a laser pistol over a whip, even though the whip you can swing on things. It's a laser pistol.
There's an elegance to that. And maybe that's what it all comes down to me is brash and brooding and semi 1.5 dimensional. Not 1.5 dimensional. I'll give him more than that. Han Solo.
Versus
there's just a certain elegance to Indiana Jones.
Okay.
That I love. That's why, to me, it was easy. I was like, when I looked at these two characters, I knew that this was the episode we were going to be doing, I immediately thought, oh, it's gotta be Indiana Jones. And then I started researching it and I'm finding a lot of things. Found that article where Harrison Ford was like, no, I'll play Indy again. I don't want to do Han Solo
He's
again.
a curmudgeon though. I wouldn't personally base it on what he thinks of the characters.
Right. Oh, and then you look at the online polls and everyone's like Han Solo, but I think the people who are more apt to take online polls are more apt to be Star Wars fans.
Sure. That's fair. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan as well.
I think his turn in Empire Strikes Back is fantastic. Like the acting, just the quality of acting. Nobody's performance outside of Alec Guinness and maybe even James Earl Jones, maybe not James Earl Jones, in the original Star Wars is that great because George Lucas is directing them.
Yeah, and he's not great with dialogue.
Right. Either. Then you have Lawrence Kasdan write a script and Irvin Kershner come in and say, this is about, I love all this is about the characters. That's what he sounds like.
Yeah.
When I was asked to direct, I knew it was about the characters. So I sat with Mark and Carrie and Harrison and we talked about their relationships and I wanted them to get deep.
See? So Empire stepped up the Han Solo game.
It did. But it gives that character a lot more dimension in terms of who he cares about. The fact that he's willing to sacrifice himself.
Sure.
After being the ultimate, self-serving guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, Chewie is a little bit as his Jiminy Cricket.
Yes.
To ultimately, I mean, there's no way to know whether he knew he was going to die in Force Awakens. But the fact that he was willing to
walk out on that thing and talk to Kylo.
And his last act of life was to brush his son's face and forgive him before falling to his death.
Sure, that's a beautiful moment.
That is a beautiful
Indiana
moment.
Jones is constantly sacrificing himself, but he just happens to never die from it because his luck will save him.
I just want to point out, when we say 1.5, 2, like, we need to look a little deeper into.
All right, I didn't mean to insult.
To get there.
I didn't mean to insult Han Solo.
I'm not hurt at all. I just don't I don't want us to come out of this whatever we decide and be like, well, you didn't really look at. You just sort of went by surfacey stuff instead of digging in a little bit more. The idea that Indiana Jones is willing to let go of the ultimate prize for his father, he's able to make the correct choice that other people aren't able to make. That speaks a lot about his character. The fact that he's willing to, it's no willing to, they have to, they were going to have him go, yep, let him die. I'm not going to go find that grail. But the fact that he's able to get it because he's driven by caring for his father and knowing it's the only way to save his life certainly speaks well to Indy. He is a womanizer. Han Solo does not.
See, this is, I was going to say, you bring that up almost like it's a negative. I was going to say, Indiana Jones has a little bit of scoundrel in him too with his dating life.
But he seems to leave a trail of, like, he was dating Marion when she was way too young.
You don't see was she way too young?
They talk about it like she was a student.
Well,
her father was like Indy's mentor.
But it never seems like he's just breaking hearts and leaving people. It's just a different he just has a different love interest in every movie.
Yeah.
It's not, they never say why things ended.
And he gets seduced in Last Crusade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fun. That's a fun element. Make him a lover. You know what I mean? Because here's a guy who I just think he's way more interesting and way more well-rounded. You have a college professor who is going on endless adventures around the world, always for good reasons. He has friends on every continent. Because they like him genuinely and they care about him and what he does and, they think that he's on the right side of things. He until the fourth movie, which you're disregarding.
Yeah.
There's no
I'm
settling.
Disregarding Henry Jones.
You know what? He's got a great butt though. So don't disregard Heine.
I would never disregard Heine, please.
Until the fourth movie where he ultimately marries Marion. He has his fun. But he's also a super genius. I think that in life, Indiana Jones would get a hell of a lot farther than now I'm doing it, than Han Solo would. Han Solo would be in jail.
I'm sorry. I'm not listening to you because I'm just imagining every Harrison Ford movie poster with a butt.
Well, what I said was a sound argument in favor of Indiana Jones being the ultimate winner.
Like the original Star Wars poster?
Oh my God.
Darth Vader.
Listeners, I've never seen Hal's face in such a pure, all I'm going to do is giggle now mode.
Darth Vader's in the background. But if that was a butt. And then 6 days, 7 nights, he's dragging a butt away from the wreckage of a plane. And witness it would be an Amish butt.
Hal, it's Indiana Jones.
People of the world, like a bad penny, he always turns up. Indiana Jones is the greatest role. Star Wars movies are iconic, no doubt. Mm-hmm. They're iconic, and it's an iconic role. This is 1 and 1A is what we're talking about here. But that role is him carrying an entire movie by himself. Not by himself. I mean, he's got great support. Karen Allen. You can't have Raiders of the Lost Ark without Karen Allen.
It's not Raider of the Lost Ark.
They're together Raiders. And Sala as well.
Sure.
But what that role has become and the journeys that character has been on do make it his greatest role in a career filled with iconic roles. There were ones here that we didn't even mention. I know all you Ender's Games fans really wanted us to talk about Colonel Hiram Graff.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad.
And all those Mosquito Coast fans wanted us to talk about Colonel Hiram Mosquito Coast.
That's right. All you K-19 the Widowmaker fans that wanted us to talk about Alexei Vostrelkov.
Vostrelkov?
Do
you have Vostrelkov?
Instead of a submarine, it was a butt.
Can we just wrap this up?
Can we just wrap this butt?
This topic is closed, asked and answered, but there are many more topics, so please reach out to us. If you have a topic,
Or
much
butt.
the way if you have a butt, like Brian Wallace, I'm certain has a butt.
Yep.
Brian Wallace, let us know if you have a butt or not. If you have a topic, please reach out to us with your topics. We can be found on the Maximum Fun subreddit or on Twitter at We Got This Tweets.
Or you can email us at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com. I can't stop thinking about the butt posters.
I know.
Hashtag butt posters, everybody. You can also go to our Facebook group where I'm sure we're all going to be talking about what the Harrison Ford movie posters sorely need a butt the most. Apocalypse Now. He was in that one. That's facebook.com/groups/ We Got This Podcast. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, who is free and clear of this one, so don't blame her if you're mad. Graphic designer Uri Kelman and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thank you, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, our listeners. We would go on any adventure with you, anywhere around the world or the galaxy, and we would take a photo with you on that adventure. And when we develop that photo later, we would look, and there'd be a great big butt in the foreground. For Hal Loveland, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Loveland. And don't worry, everybody.
We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Listener supported.